Hi folks, Dave, the Honest Audiophile. This is the SeeAudio X Z Review Rinko, and these are my Honest Audiophile impressions. I want to thank HifiGo for providing the SeeAudio X Z Review Rinko for review. Do greatly appreciate it. HifiGo, you rock. Okay, so the SeeAudio X Z Review Rinko. This is a collaboration between SeeAudio and Z Reviews. It'll set you back $100 from your bank account. It is a dual configuration of drivers. It has a dynamic driver and a planar driver. Impedance is 30 ohms, sensitivity is 112 decibels, and it has a frequency response range of 20 Hz to 20 kilohertz. Sadly, the Rinko has an outer sleeve that is on this white box that I cannot show because it has some very distasteful adult-themed artwork. And I just can't show it on camera. It's that distasteful. And really, why is it with an IEM? It's uncalled for. And then on the inside, it has very limited accessories that are of audio relation. All the other accessories in the box are of the same adult-themed artwork and are very distasteful. In fact, more distasteful than the actual cover sleeve. And I can't show them on camera. So let's see what's inside the box that I can show. You get this carrying case. It says SeeAudio on it. It's white. Don't eat any Cheetos when you're handling your carrying case. Open it up and you get one bag of tips. And inside that bag, small, medium, and large. But it has the Z Reviews logo on it. Cool. All right, so these tips are actually rather interesting. They are this foam silicone type of design. So it's got foam on the inside and then the silicone sleeve that goes around it. And I really like them. You get 3 colors. You get pink red, which is the large, and then you get this peachy tan skin color, which is the small, and then you get black, and that's the ones that I used. The only other thing I can show you is the Rinko and the cable. So there you go, there's the black tip. The Rinko, nice shell. It's kind of like a heart-shaped and not too thick. You do have a ergonomic shell. It's not completely flat. It does have a little bit of kind of curves to it. Take the tip off here. There you go. I like the shell. It's nice and light. Very simple. It says Rinko on it. Connects with a 2-pin. Ear hooks are okay on the cable. This is a OFC silver cable. Go down to the split here. You have a nice cinch, stays in place. Cable does tend to kind of twist up from the split up here. Nice and thin, very light cable. Terminates to 3.5. Comfort of the Rinko is pretty good. I can wear them for about 90 minutes or so before I have to take a little bit of a break. And they just kind of slip in the ears and disappear. They actually do quite a good job of isolation of outside noises. 70% or so of outside noises is blocked. These would be good for somewhat louder environments in the office, around the house, through the neighborhood. Didn't take any mass transit trips, but I would assume that they would do pretty good, especially if you used these foam silicone hybrid tip things that the Z included. So I like the build, I like the design, the comfort is good. The Rinko, I did try some other tips with it, and I found that nothing really sounded as good as the stock tip. Everything else kind of either altered something and kind of messed with something else, or fixed one and altered something else. None of them really meshed with the Rinko as well as the stock tips, so I stuck with the stock tips. The Rinko is fairly easy to drive, even though it's 30 ohms and 112 decibel sensitivity. It's not really that picky with sources. I did find that dongles, DAPs, and desktops drove it with ease. The only thing that I did notice that is something that needs to be pointed out is that warmer sources, things that had more robust bottom end, tended to kind of bog down the Rinko, and it would get very mushy and just uncontrolled in the bass. So do be aware of that. If your source is a little bit bass hefty, then it would be a little bit unpleasurable with the Rinko in that regard, unless you like mushy, thick, warm type of bass. So how do the SeeAudio X Z Review Rinkos sound? So the Rinko, this is a bass head IEM, and it has a ton of bass, and I mean a lot of bass, and it's more mid bass focused than sub bass. Now it has some sub bass to it, but the mid bass is more prominent than the sub bass. But it'll reach down there and give you some rumble, grumble, and just, it'll really move you. But the mid bass that's where the power is. That's where the authority is, and it really comes through. And then the upper bass does bleed into the lower mids. The bass of the Rinko, though, is not the most controlled. It has moments of muddiness and of bloatiness and just being just a kind of one-noteness, especially on thicker bass tracks and more busy bass tracks. It'll get a little confused, muddled, and jumbled. It's okay with tonality. It's not the greatest, not the most natural, and timbre is not the greatest, kind of hard to differentiate things. Detail retrieval is mediocre, and the resolution of the bass is just kind of mediocre as well. The mids of the Rinko, they are a very uncohesive, unbalanced, and uneven. The lower mids get a little bit of body from the bleed from the bass, but they're very recessed and they're overpowered by the bass itself. And then going into the upper mids, 2K to 4K is very forward. And so you have a very uneven travel through the mids. And so if you listen to acoustical music, mixed groups, orchestral, jazz, country music, things like that, it's going to sound very uneven. And if you play a scale on a piano, it's going to be thin and back, and then it's going to get really close and forward. If you have a mixed group, half of your mixed group is going to be back here, and then the other half is going to be way up here. It's just very uneven, and it's just uncohesive, and things don't sound balanced and correctly spaced and presented on stage. Also, it's not the thickest and most natural sounding of a note weight, and the tone is kind of off. It's not very natural. Timbre is really bad. It's very hard to differentiate between instruments and to follow them through. And details is mediocre, just like the bass, and resolution is not very good, especially in the uppers where it's more forward and shouty. It does become a little harsh and aggressive. Treble. So you have this peak that goes up to about 4K, and then you have this dip from about 5K to about 8K. And at 8K, it spikes way up. Well, your lower treble gets affected by that, and the lower treble portion sounds very unnatural. It'll sound very hollow and brittle, but yet spiky at the same time. Details and resolution also get affected, and it's not very a technical performer of an IEM itself, but they really sound unnatural through that area. And then about 8K, after 8K, it kind of slopes out and goes to about 13K, it'll spike again. And so your treble is very spiky and very unnatural, and it just doesn't sound correct. There's just something off about the treble. It doesn't have a whole lot of air to it. There's not a lot of space, and it just sounds very dark, but yet peaky and spiky. It's really strange. So you'll have moments of just piercing spikes in the treble, and it's very annoying and very fatiguing to my ears. Soundstage of the Rinko is of small. When I say small, I mean it's uncomfortably small. It's like getting into an elevator with too many people. They are that close to you. You're like, can I have a little elbow room, please? And then the depth of the Rinko is very small. And it's like you can feel the guy behind you breathing on you in the elevator. And so it's just like, oh, get me out of here? It's way small. It's not very wide. And imaging of what's in it is not very good either. It's kind of 3 blobbish. And placement is not very good either. It's in this neighborhood, but it's a big neighborhood. You'll know it's on the left or the right side, but you really won't be able to hone in on it. And I find that the Rinko is not a very good soundstage. Then, tone and timbre. The tone of the Rinko is not natural. Instruments don't sound correct. It's a very uneven through the mids and the treble, and it just throws things off. And timbre has this metallicism to it, and it just doesn't sound correct. It's at times off-putting, and then other times you're kind of like, I can deal with it. It's just not a very correct sounding IEM. And then detail retrieval and resolution. Detail retrieval is not very good. It does struggle with it. You are going to miss things with the details being pulled through on the Rinko. And then resolution is not very good either, especially in the mids and in treble. They would become harsh, and they're just not very resolved well. There's some smearing and some just overall just kind of glassiness at times as well. So the Rinko. If you just want quantity, you don't really care about quality, it's kind of a fun listen. But not for me. For the same price, you can get a 7 Hz Legato. Now, the Legato has a little bit more bass, sub-bass especially. You get a little bit more rumble and grumble, but it's better controlled, it's better detailed, and it's better resolving. Sure, it bleeds into the mids, but you get some little body, and you're not as recessed as you are in the Rinko. And then the upper mids are not near as elevated as they are on the Rinko. Treble is more filled in. You get better detail retrieval and resolution. You have more space, more energy, and the soundstage is wider, a little bit deeper, and you have better imaging. And overall, I just find that the Legato is more pleasing and more musical to listen to. Sure, it's a subwoofer, and it's gonna really be used just for bass listening, but it's a fun and engaging listen. And then for the same price also, you have the CTM CE110. Now the CE110 is a studio monitor for drums and guitar. They have very powerful bass, extremely powerful bass, and it's well controlled and it sounds natural and accurate. If you want a bass that is portraying what guitar should sound like, what percussion should sound like, what bass instruments should sound like, the CTM CE110 is that IEM. Also, it has better control through the mids and the treble. It is more natural with its tone and timbre, is more detailed, better resolving, has a better soundstage, better placement, better depth. Overall, the CTM CE110 is just a better IEM than the Rinko and the Legato, even though the Legato is a little bit more fun and engaging. So the Rinko. If you want something different, you got to have a dynamic planar, then okay. Or you really want to have a Z Reviews collaboration, okay. But it's not really that good of an IEM, and its claim to fame being basshead is what it is, but it's not really good at it, and in my opinion. And so I can't recommend a Rinko. Get yourself a Legato or a CE110. This has been Dave, the Honest Audiophile. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Speaking of next video, somewhere on screen, subscription links, notification bells. If you haven't already, please check those off. Don't forget to hit the subscription button and also hit the notification bell. That way you'll know when the next video, I'll spit it out, when the next video from the Honest Audiophile is released. Don't forget to check out all the links down below. There's all kinds of information down there regarding how you contact channel, follow channel, support channel. Give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to the video. And if you're interested in supporting the channel, check those out. And there's ways that you can do that through PayPal and Venmo for one-time payments, or you can give a monthly subscription through Patreon or through YouTube memberships. All funds given to the channel do go back into the channel to help provide gear to review, gear to use for comparisons, gear to produce the videos, coffee to drink, which I need now because I'm really struggling with this outro, and all kinds of other things that go back into the channel. So if you're interested in supporting the channel, check out the links down below. Lastly, don't forget to enjoy the music, and that honesty is the best policy.